Pathmonk is the AI for website conversions. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in the buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% by adding Pathmonk to your website in seconds, letting the artificial intelligence do all the work, and increasing conversions by 50% while you keep doing marketing as usual. Check us out on pathmonk.com. All right, everybody, welcome to today's episode of Pathmonk Presents. Today, we are joined by Dave Ranallo. He's the Director of Growth at Arnet Technologies. Dave, welcome to the show.
How we doing, Rick?
Doing well, thanks. Doing well. And, we were just talking offline a little bit about what you guys do and what we do, right? And it's nice to just start this conversation that way. I would love us to go into Arnet Technologies a little bit and help us understand what's the heart of what your company does, and how would you describe it to someone new if you met them on the street?
Yeah, sure. So Arnet Technologies, we're based in Columbus, Ohio, right? And put simply, Arnet does two things. Companies outsource their IT operations to us, and then we also automate business process for them, right? So we do two things, right? Manage IT and automate processes.
Okay. Is there any specific industry or vertical that you feel you're able to serve best right now?
Right now, it's more of the segment of the size. So we can cover any, we have construction companies, manufacturing, knowledge workers, legal, accountants, engineers, right? Consultancies, right? We have restaurant groups as customers, and most of those companies are outsourcing a piece or all of their IT to us. But you soon find out that that's not enough. And with all the AI buzz that's going on out there, and when I say AI, I'm really just talking about automation, right? It's another tool to automate things we don't want to do. And they're all looking for a roadmap to get them there, sort of a North Star. So we developed the North Star. We ask a rhetorical question, right? Would you be against doubling your revenue and keeping the same amount of employees? Right? So I mean, obviously it's a rhetorical question, but they're like, of course. Well, I go, guys, with AI, this is now becoming a reality. And we can show you how to get to a path to becoming an autonomous business. And then we take them through three pillars. One is you got to have a safe and scalable infrastructure. Two is your data has to be cleaned, structured, and unified. And then three is your team needs to be able to prompt and to speak AI is the buzzword we're using. You get those three things in place, and then the automations, right, just come flying out. And we're seeing, we've implemented 5 of these automations. And one, as you were probably finding out, probably even with your own tool itself, right? Coders now can develop automations and code within weeks, not months. And if your data is structured and the AI can read it, right, now you have a whole other sort of tool in your chest to just automate everything, right? And so that's what we do, and that's how we're going to market.
Okay, got it. And I'm curious, obviously people will come to you with all sorts of problems, right, related to IT and needing their services managed in that sense. But is there a core problem that you've identified over the years that, it's always that thing, right? And you guys are able to solve it so well, maybe even compared to, to your competitors, let's say?
I wouldn't, we like to approach our company strategically, right? So companies will want to outsource their IT, and I'll tell you, 95% of the leads we get for, they call it managed service providers, right? For outsourcing IT is because the last guy screwed up, right? There might be a cybersecurity attack, right? The system goes down, they're not communicating, whatever the issue. And then that's how typically MSPs have gotten their business. But what we're finding now is that the AI buzz is past sort of the hype cycle. We're almost past the trough of disillusionment, if you remember that old Gartner chart, right? Or that graph. And now they're realizing like it's here to stay. I'm hearing my friends who are in the enterprise and the Fortune 50 are utilizing it. It's working. What do I do? Right. And so that's how we're differentiating ourselves with all the other IT service providers out there. Right. We're not just going to keep the lights on. We're going to start driving strategic change and, real ROI. And then we become fully embedded within their organization.
Right. Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Um, when it comes to finding out about your services, right? So what's the typical person that reaches out to Arnet Technologies and say, okay, we need your help? And I guess, for you as a director of growth, the question would be more about your acquisition channels, understanding, okay, what are they, what's working, what's not working at the moment.
So, as I said before, typically they'll find out about us because something went wrong with their current provider. They'll go onto Google, and it seems to be the searches are all mainly local, right? Find me MSPs in Columbus, Ohio, MSPs in Ohio, something like that. And then a list will pop up, and luckily we have enough testimonials in our Google place that keep us in the top 10, even though Google does sort of monopolize the first third of their page now. It's more for Google than it is for all of us, but that's another subject. Um, so if we're found, then they'll submit a lead, and then we have to vet that lead and go through. That's only 5% of our business, sadly. I wish I could do more leads just from paying, cost per click or SEO or any of those.
Mm,
We do have to do a lot of in-person events, and then we also hold a lot of these automation events. One of the differentiators we have at Arnet, we have two from not just our capabilities, but on our staff, we have a former Microsoft regional CTO. He's on our staff. And he was
mm,
there he was at Microsoft for 16 years. So he's going to provide insights around not only the architecture, but also where we're going with Copilot and the automations, right? The few can. There's only a handful of those guys in the country at any one time. Then the other piece that gives us more capitalization and reach is that we're a part of a private equity holding company called Lyra or Evergreen, which is their parents. There's always a bigger fish, right?
of
But
course.
Lyra's acquired us in 2021, and they have 80 similar companies like ours throughout the British Commonwealth and United in North America. And between all of us, we have about 3,000 technicians. So if somebody at Arnet doesn't know it, somebody at Lyra will. And we also were recognized as one of the top cybersecurity companies as when like Chubb Insurance, which is a huge insurance provider for businesses here, or Booz Allen Hamilton. They do ransomware forensic consulting. When their clients
Mhm.
get in trouble, they call us and we go into that client's, right, stabilize the clients and try to take them out of that terrible ransomware. If you've ever been ransomware, it's a nightmare. FBI gets involved, it gets crazy. So
Okay.
again, we have Microsoft, former CTO, we're private equity backed, and really we just have to get out there and press the flesh and be top of mind for when something does happen or they want to start becoming an autonomous business.
Got it. Okay. So it's interesting you mentioned the face-to-face, the events, right? And I don't know if it's me noticing it more, but I think they're making more of a comeback now that, across different industries, not only professional services, obviously lawyers, doctors, and
Everything.
whatnot. That exactly. And it speaks volumes to how much people actually want to connect and do, face-to-face, shaking hands. It's making a comeback, and I like it. At the end of the day, on the flip side, we're a website tool, right? A Pathmark, we deal with websites. But it's encouraging that I can see, so many people getting together and doing these events. And
It-
of course, logistically is a little
100%.
bit of a nightmare, but
Yeah, I would
it
say for the
works.
last 3 years, especially at the enterprise level, I was selling into the enterprise before I joined. Arnet generally serves, companies under 5 billion, right? Which means I can still get to the leadership. I can still have the leadership conversations. But at the Fortune 500, they're so inundated with emails. They read almost none of them. They're in meetings all day, right? And for you to, and then you have to pass all the spam filters, right? So then you have to hope that maybe that executive or their analyst really is searching for you, and then you pop up, and then maybe they submit something. So you really got to make an impression on folks. And COVID got us all into Zoom, which is great for remote work,
Right.
but also I think there is this, um, they call it the loneliness epidemic or whatever. But people
Mm.
are relishing now meeting in person, shaking hands. Well, a lot of people, not everybody, but I do. But I'll say this: LinkedIn has had some success for us from a brand awareness and generating leads. Heck, we met on LinkedIn, right, Rick? Um, and it was just
Yeah.
timely. And I don't know why I check my LinkedIn more than I check maybe my email, because there's just so many. I do a better job on filtering my emails, but regardless, this is a problem for every executive, right? Especially on the growth side, especially in the marketing and sales divisions where we're running around talking to people. I'd probably flip it to you guys. What are you seeing success with, Pathmonk and generating leads? I mean, LinkedIn events and, having a website that represents you well. That's how
Hmm.
we're getting our leads.
Okay, that's a good one. And you mentioned there's so is that 5% that you mentioned earlier just dedicated to the PPC, the
Yeah.
paid clicks, or
Yeah. That would
and
be
I
just
guess,
anything coming from the web.
okay, got it. Okay. And so the role of the website right now, it's we were talking about this earlier. Is it more of a, kind of business card, right? The way it was intended originally, more than getting people to feel that lead
It's a
form and,
credibility tool. It's a
right,
credibility tool.
got
They
it.
want to go there. If you're a technology company and your website isn't up to date, that's going to be a ding on you. They want to see the leadership team. They want to have a story, a narrative. Um, and then, we have all these extra links on there, but I swear, like we have like our services and our industry served, people just sort of mouse over those. They see the drop down. They're like, okay, good. And then
Right.
maybe a business case will be downloaded every blue moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
we're just the speed with which everybody is churning, um is it's always been increasing. I mean, I've been in the workforce since the late 90s, and it's breakneck speed right now.
Right. Um, Dave, I want to switch gears for a second. I want to talk
Mhm.
about you as a leader, if you don't mind. Just, I just want
Yeah,
to
sure.
know and share with our audience, what's your day-to-day like as a director of growth? Because obviously there's a lot of this, I'm sure will be events, but it's not like, I'm assuming it's not everyday thing, right? It'll be maybe every few months. Because again, we go back to the logistical side of things that it takes a while. So what do you do on a daily basis, and what keeps you excited to do what you do?
So there was I saw a on LinkedIn, actually, there was sort of so the day in a life of a typical salesperson, and
Right.
right, and only 15% was actually outreach, like doing our job, like connecting with people. The rest were like, understanding the products, right? Crafting messaging, sending emails, right? Building sequences, and then also understanding broader strategies. And then we also have to understand everything about the client, the prospect, and all the people within there, and all the politics within there,
Right.
right? So if you look at all the information we have to absorb, um, it's a lot. On top of that, though, with our net, we talked about this AI automation practice that we have now. I was the one, along with the CTO and the CEO, like I'm the one building that, right? And if we don't have the resource on site, then we have to form a partnership, and then we have to bring that person in. So I'm building a practice combined with being a growth leader, while also we are under the holding company, which has all sorts of reporting situations as well.
Mm.
So it is like a giant, a large corporation, but we have access to the CEO. So, you know, my days really only spent 15% with the outreach, and I'm
Mm.
trying to get that into 30%, right? But in order to do that, I need some automation, right? I need services like you to help me generate leads because I have a BDR, and he cold calls all day. Or again, he's probably 60% cold calling, right?
Hmm.
Cold call email sequences. That's at about a 1.5%. We have had some success with this AI automation play because here in Ohio, the state of Ohio is actually giving companies grants of up to $180,000 to upskill and to adopt AI and technology.
Mm. Interesting.
So we're able to ride that a little bit, and that's getting us some traction. All our programs qualify for that. But that's my day, right?
Okay.
15% doing my real job, the rest building
Right.
traffic messaging, you know.
Yeah, that's your bread and butter. And I think many people can say the same because we're being pulled in so many different directions. Unless you're 100% specialized in something, that's just the nature of the game, right? I mean, you'll have to deal with different people. You have to kind of, you have different stakeholders and uh, tasks
Maybe at
and
a giant
jobs that you need
corporation,
to get
Rick,
done.
we're
That's it.
we're you know about 50 people, right? So we're a small organization,
Yeah.
right? With all the Lyra companies, each one's between 50 and 150. So like we have access to all the, but again, when you're in a smaller organization, you're gonna have to wear many hats. Maybe if we were in a giant corporation, we could just be solely focused on outreach. Maybe you can get it up to 50%. But even there, you still got to do all the pre-work, send the notes, get the contracting, all right, pulling the right players, make sure everyone shows. I know on some of your previous interviews, you asked a question. I'm going to jump to it. What's the number one thing that I would love for somebody to figure out automating?
Right.
Scheduling. Can
Okay.
we just somebody knock that out? It's a very hard problem as we're seeing, but somebody could automate scheduling. Um, I
I
know there
mean,
are people trying, but I haven't seen it working.
no, but I'll let you know that you'll probably get your inbox flooded after this, because I'm sure there's some CEO at a new startup somewhere that's working right on this, and he wants to get 10 minutes of your time. So hopefully something good will come out of it. But yeah, I can relate. We have something, but it's not quite.
You almost have to
Uh,
sync up all I mean, not to get into it, but you have to like sync up everyone's calendar, right? And everyone has to have their calendars, right, up to date. And then somehow
right.
this AI tool, this bot would have to go around and match all of them and then get you the answer. I mean, it's doable, but no one's going to give access to all that. So
Yeah,
what are you going to do? Then you have to have humans. So
that's
I
right.
don't,
Yeah, unless you have an assistant that follows that closely, it's a tricky game, right?
it's a tricky game, Rick.
Absolutely. Well, I love that you jumped ahead a little bit and mentioned the automation. And since we're going towards that segment on the interview, I would love for us to jump in and that we have some rapid fire questions. So we'll skip that one. But if you're fine with with the others, then
Yeah,
we'll go right in. You ready?
sure. Yes.
Okay. What's the last book you read?
It was called the 5,000 Year Leap, and it was about it's really about how unique the U.S. Constitution and sort of the founding of the United States was, but just really about how do you create a free society, something that is more involved with voluntary interactions, minimize the use of coercion or government, and really try to do these more decentralized models of living, right? Where if
Okay.
you centralize too much power, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. This sort of says, let's look at some different models. But and that one was actually my buddy recommend. He knows I'm like some sort of freedom nut, but he recommended it to me. It's very interesting. It's good for people just who are interested in other ways to form governments and society. But then the one I read religiously is probably the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. There's probably no book to help you understand human nature, and especially human nature within power, right? Where power and money, if you're sitting at the table and there's millions of dollars or billions of dollars, you see people's reptilian brain kick in, you get some weird stuff happening. I've
Yeah,
had the privilege and the sort of the sadness of watching people just transform in front of you. But also, how do you just handle yourselves in those dynamics? 48 Laws of Power is a must read for any business, any real human, frankly. But
love it. Well, love both recommendations. I haven't read the 5,000 Years Leap, but I'm fascinated by that. So thanks for that. Just
sure.
jotted that down.
Yep.
Anything by Robert Greene, I think is
Yeah.
Mastery was an awesome book. I read it three
Oh, I
times, I
haven't I
think,
haven't
so
jumped into
far.
that one. I'll get the book on
It's
tape.
very
Mastery.
good.
I'll check it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that. So, okay. So next question. If maybe this is related to your automation thing, right? But if there are no boundaries in technology, Dave, what's one thing that you would want to have fixed for your role as a director of growth?
Yeah, we touched on it earlier. Like I just can't stress what it almost like builds an anger in me to some degree, but the scheduling, right? You find somebody, they're like, I'm interested. Okay. Now this journey begins. And it's just like I get it's funny. I have to like maybe do more more Buddhist meditations to sort of, namaste myself. But when you reply to somebody, yes, I'm interested, can you give me some time slots? Right? Just
Mm,
sort of the etiquette of scheduling, right? And the scheduling nightmare is the bane of my existence in this growth role. Um, as far as automation, other automation plays besides scheduling, um, I would say having and this is what sort of Copilot and Microsoft's doing right now, and sort of like Microsoft Dynamics is being able to get a snapshot of my customers with prompts um, that we're building to that capability. And the CRMs are doing it. Like we also use HubSpot, moving to Dynamics, but the ability just to ask a couple questions and have all of that information just spit out in a sweet
yeah.
summary before I start a meeting. That one's here. We just haven't fully implemented it yet. So those would be scheduling and snapshots.
Okay. I love that. I mean, I'm sure that, when, I'm not going to say even if it's going to be a when that comes out, it's going to be a game changer, right?
100%. I mean, there's always lead gen, and you can go on and on about that, but I I'm struggling with um, sort of Google's monopolization of their space, the cost, SEO. I mean, I don't even know, you know, ranking just on basically backlinks and keywords. You have to do it, but I'm not seeing a lot of just traction on our side. And I think again, we touched on this earlier. It's because the space I'm in right now is very commoditized, right?
Hmm.
Everyone's going to put AI automation or IT service management, like so.
Right.
Now that just becomes, basically, if you pay the most money, you get the top thing, right? Small
It's
businesses can't really compete on that level. So
agreed.
press the flesh.
Yeah. Dave, thanks a lot for being on the show with us today. I want to give you the last word. This is something we do usually. If someone forgets what we talked about today, all the questions, all the answers, what's one thing that they should remember about the work you're doing at Arnet Technologies?
We will enable you to double your revenue and keep the same amount of employees. That is something that every business should be striving for today.
Perfect. So where should people go if you want to check out Arnet Technologies then?
You can go to arnettechnologies.com, LinkedIn, Dave Ranallo. I have a lot of friends, but I'm open to many more. So Dave Ranallo on LinkedIn or arnettechnologies.com. And Rick, I think these are great programs. I really appreciate this is a great marketing method as well. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dave. It was great meeting you, and we hope to have you again on the show.
Awesome.
All right. Take care.